this is John Kvale, and this is the Q3 newsletter. And if you had a bloopers on this, it would be great. I'm going to scan down and look at all of the equipment that we've had. I've had lots of trouble here, but we've got some exciting news, and so I hope all of this is working. The exciting news is Donald and Randy are expecting, and that's leading off our Q3 newsletter article. Congratulations, Donald and Randy. It's in the newsletter. This is the video, audio, podcast format of the newsletter, but awesome news. Table of 5 for the Capones. Love it, love it, love it. Okay, that's page 7 of the newsletter, and that's the annual, what we're doing for the summer portion of the newsletter. I am now going to page 1 to our lead article. Those of you that are looking at me, I'm going to set the GoPro down so you're not jiggling around as much and jump right into the article on the desktop. Here we are. So the key article that we have, our main article, is an inverted yield curve. Generally, the yield curve, short-term rates are lower than long-term rates. When the yield curve inverts, short-term rates are higher than long-term rates. And when this has happened over the past 5 or 6 decades, it's been a predictor of recession. This key graph on the top of page 2, I've circled in red when it has inverted. And those of you that are looking at this graph, if you're driving, keep your hands on the wheel. I'm kidding. No, I'm not kidding. You can see this thing's getting closer and closer. This does not mean that it's going to invert. We did have an area in here in 95 when it did not. But if it does invert, it's been a very accurate predictor of a recession. We're keeping our eyes on this, and I've got all the backup data to go with it on this. So back to page 1. Our second key article is about the tax code and the changes. We've had a monumental number of changes, and we've pulled out 3 that we're comfortable discussing. They're obvious, and that's why we're pretty comfortable discussing them. Number 1, increased standard deduction. Planning technique on that means we're going to have to exaggerate and clump our expenses into 1 year to hit the itemized threshold. If we don't do that, we're just going to be non-itemizing. We'll continue on that. Number 2, tax rates across the board are lower. There's an example from the tax foundation graph that I put in here, and it's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 different scenarios, and showing the tax liability, all different types of folks, and broadly across the board, from a low of 3% savings to a high of 36% tax savings. So the third point is broadly we're going to lose some deductions. All other things being equal, these 8 folks that are mentioned and scenarioed here at the Tax Foundation, it's going to be a better situation in most cases. We're going to pay less taxes, even though we're losing some of our itemizations. Okay, I'm going to jump back to another key article, and this one was very interesting. I'm back to the first page for those of you that are just listening, and it's the implication, first page of the newsletter. It's the implication of fewer stocks. Now, that's the lead-in. I'm going to jump to the actual bulk of the article, and that is at the bottom of page 6 in the newsletter. There's a graph that I found that tracks the number of stocks, and the number of stocks peaked in this cycle in 1997 and is now down by 50%, 50. Think of the loss of supply. Why would we be interested in that? If I go to the top of this article, by most valuations, we're at a higher point. This may help prove some of those valuations. So it doesn't mean we can't. If we go into if the inverted yield curve inverts, when we go into recession, the markets will go down, but maybe they just won't go down as far as they have in prior recessions. Okay. I'm sneakily, for those of you that are listening, I'm sneakily rolling to page 5 of the newsletter. And the reason being is because it has our first reappearance of an app of the quarter. It's called TripIt. At the bottom of page 5 is a screenshot from my telephone where TripIt notified me of $132 savings. I've had 2 more of these come up. And basically what happens is this app will monitor your prices of your airfare, and if the airlines drops the airfare, it'll notify you. I called the airlines, they said no problem. One other cool feature, in addition to all the things that I mentioned in the article, one other neat feature that was very handy recently was the app was in a location where it tracked the airport congestion, a la going through the security lines, and it also tracked the traffic. it sent me a note and said, and where I was, it sent me a note and said, you must leave right now. You're going to be late. The easy part of that is I was near the end of a meeting. I said, hey, this thing's saying I need to go. Everybody said, hey, you go. It's no problem. So it made for an easy, understandable exit. I'm sneakily sliding to page 7 for those of you that are just listening, and I've got a picture of Sophia, our tennis player, and Pierce, also a tennis player, although begrudgingly sometimes. Our summer plans, we'll go to a cooler climate late in the summer, and we're going to have friends and family. So going back through the Capones, and now for those of you that are listening, I am on the final page, the parting thoughts page, and our summer project is to go through. We've retained the services of a company that will scroll all 50 states in the United States and look for money that you may have lost or forgotten about, and we're reaching out to everybody. We've had a blast with this. We hope that everybody's enjoying it. We look forward. We're the B's, and we're over $5,000 already. So now we've kind of jumped around a little bit, but we're going to go through everybody, friends and family. So if you know somebody, please let us know. All right, I'm jumping back to the front of the newsletter. We thank you for your time. I thank you for your ears, your eyes, and everything that you do to pay attention. I much appreciate it. Have a wonderful summer. Enjoy the summer, and we will talk to you in the fall. And that's your Q3 2018 newsletter wrap. Have a great day.